All right, Cam, thanks for being on, man. This is awesome. I'm excited to start talking to you and kind of get into it and everything, so I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Anytime.
So Cam you grew up in like Ladd, right? Over by
Yep,
Spring
lad.
Valley? Okay, so Ladd is, so I'm from Henry, which is like probably 25, 30 minutes from Ladd. So I kind of knew who Cam was just in high school and stuff, just seeing him play and all that kind of stuff. So Cam was kind of one of those guys that I was excited to kind of talk about when we had this idea back in February to do this podcast. So he was definitely one of those guys that I wanted to get on and talk to and kind of pick his brain with things. So I'm excited for this. I've been waiting for this one for a while. So Cam, I appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Small town kids, huh?
Yeah, yeah, yep.
Yeah.
So kind of want to start talking about like just growing up in a small town a little bit. Um, what was that like, and kind of how did you start playing?
Um, I pretty well, my obviously my dad played professionally, so that definitely had a big role on me because I was in like baseball uniforms when I was like 2, 3 years old. Like it was kind of like I was definitely pushed in that direction, which it definitely I mean it wasn't a bad thing. Like I ended up loving it, like just from like a really young age. Like I was always like super into it. But I think just being in a smaller town, I don't think other people kind of thought it was like crazy, like just how like much like my dad pushed me, like I mean it was like at that time it was crazy. Like most kids weren't getting pushed, like I was getting pushed, but like like he always knew that I could handle it and that like I loved it. Like I told him that I wanted to play like college baseball, professional baseball, and I was like really young. He's like, all right, well I'm gonna push you. So like all the way up, like he was like there. I mean, there was times when we'd be in the cage and it would turn into like a screaming match back and forth. Just like, I mean, but it was like awesome. Like I feel like I learned so much just because like when I was home during the day when I was younger, it was like I get home from school and we'd be talking about baseball like nonstop. It's like,
Um, so I remember there was so when we were in like junior high, we would always play like lad and basketball, and I think we were at lad, and your coach was like talking. This maybe was before junior high actually, maybe like fifth, sixth grade or something. Anyway, our coach was like talking to us before the game and was like, "Yeah, their coach was like, yeah, their best player's not playing. Like he's at this Cubs like some Cubs like training camp thing or whatever. Like you're doing like a clinic or something with the Cubs organization, I think, or something." And we were all like, "Who the heck is this guy? Like he's playing with like at some camp like this or whatever." And anyway, we found out later on, like once we get to high school and stuff, that it was you because, I mean, your group in high school was a good group, but yeah, I just remember finding that out. But when we were in high or grade school, we were just like, "Who is this guy?" But yeah, so um, kind of what were some of the benefits though of having a dad playing in pro ball? Because I think being from a small town myself, like you don't really see or understand what it takes to even just play in college and then let alone play professionally too. So like what benefits did he have for you kind of growing up?
I just think I had an idea of how hard it was gonna be to play at that level, and like when I got there, it was almost easier than I thought it was gonna be because I'd always heard how tough it is at that level, and then like I got there and I was like, oh, like I work harder than all these guys, like or most of these guys. Like I mean, not all of them. There's like I played at Massey my freshman year, and Massey's probably the hardest work I've ever seen. But like other than that, I was like, well, I'm like on another level than most of these guys are. Like almost to a fault, like where I would just be there all the time and just thinking about it all the time. Like when I was younger, it was just like I'd be in there too much almost. But like I spent like yeah, like you gotta love it, right? And I loved it, and I think that's like the biggest thing, just from like being around him. My baseball IQ is also, I think, very good for like being a freshman, and just from being around him, like I knew things that other guys didn't.
Yeah, yeah. Um, do you think he helped you a lot, kind of like going through the recruiting process? Um, because when I feel like a lot of these guys probably just look at the name of the school and oh, it's a really big school. Like I have this opportunity to play there, but like, are they actually going to play, or is it just to say that they're playing at whatever school? Do you think his knowledge and experience and kind of understanding of the game kind of helped you pick out, Illinois because it gave you an opportunity to play there? And do you think that was kind of helpful for you?
Yeah, I think he was very good about we were pretty much set because I was really skinny and really like I had a big growth spurt. I was like 6'4", like 170 pounds. Like I was super skinny. Wasn't didn't have very much power. Didn't run very well. Like I wasn't didn't have any tools really. Had like a good arm, but like I mean they were like you could tell that there was like something there, but I think I was trending more towards JUCO. And all of a sudden I got a lot better fast. I would say like my junior to senior year. So I think he was I went to a few mid-major D1s on visits, and he was like really kind of pushing me to stay to go junior college route. And then Illinois came into the picture, and then I had a bunch of friends going there that I played with in high school, and it ended up being the best fit for me, which is I mean and Adam Chris, awesome. Like took me on my visit, loved him from the start, and I knew that like he helped me understand like to look past all of like the like oh like this place is gonna be like a lot of fun like stuff to do outside of baseball and just like look at like development like oh um just like I think when I like if I'm lucky enough to have a kid and he plays baseball like the biggest thing I'm gonna look at like for my kid is like who's gonna help develop him the best as a man and a
Yeah,
baseball player.
yeah, for
Not even
sure.
just as a baseball player, just as a man, like who's gonna help him be
Yep.
the best person that he can be.
Yeah, because true. At the end of the day, it's like baseball is not going to be there forever. So I mean, anytime they can develop you to just be a better person, that's definitely probably the most important thing.
Yeah.
Um, so kind of going into high school, um, so you went to Hall, which is in Spring Valley, close to Lad. Um, so one thing that I always noticed about you guys is that, and I think it was your class, and I think there were a couple classes below you that were just really talented, and honestly, they're maybe older than you too, but I just didn't know about them. But what was so different about Hall and just the group of guys that you had, kind of around your age range, that just made you guys so much better, I think, than just area talent?
I think a lot of it did stem from my dad because he coached us all the way up and just like just him being around and just talking about like what it takes basically to make it at that level. And a bunch of dudes just bought in like to that aspect of things. Like they knew that it wasn't going to be easy. Like none of us like went out or like partied in high school. Like everybody was like on Friday, Saturday nights, we'd go down to the field and hit under the lights. Like
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
nobody really does that. Like I mean, we were always together and like we just hang out at the field all day during the summer. Like that's what like we would do.
yeah, yeah. I
And I don't
think,
feel like nobody does that now even like
yeah, no, I think that's I agree with that, and I think that's like one thing. I mean, my perspective is only from just a small town kid, but like I think that just kind of goes back to not even really fully understanding what it takes to be successful, like at that next level. Like you can't just be the guy that just shows up every once in a while or shows up during the season to practice. Like you got to be doing it year round, and you got to be doing it you got to enjoy it. It's more about just loving it and having fun with it rather than kind of forcing it too. So I think that's a big part of it too. um but so you played growing up, you played basketball too, obviously, because I think we played each other. And then did you play a little bit in high school? Is that right?
yeah, I stopped after my sophomore year.
So
Yeah.
how do you think basketball played a big role in helping you kind of develop on the baseball field too? Do you think that was pretty beneficial for you?
Yeah, I do. I just think like competing, definitely competing, was a big help. I mean, I would like even like football when I was younger, just playing those other sports. I think there's like a lot of good things. Like I think like wrestling's a great one to do because like it just teaches so much mental toughness. I talked about that this weekend with a guy and he was talking to me about it. It's like you're one on one. You can't make an excuse. Like you can't say one of your other teammates um Like you can't say that's the reason we lost. It's all on you, right? So like you can't make any excuses. So I thought that was like he was telling me about that, and I was like, that makes a ton of sense to me.
Yeah. Do you would you like recommend to kids in high school or junior high, whatever age? Like, do you think that's something you would recommend to try and do is to play multiple sports, or do you think did you find it beneficial for you to kind of focus on baseball alone your junior and senior year?
I mean, I think it just depends on the guy, honestly. Like if they want to, and they should, obviously. But I mean, I was set. I wanted to play at the D1 level, and my dad was like, "Well, at this rate, you're not training to be able to play at the D1 level, so and you can't put on any weight. So like obviously, basketball's a lot of running and conditioning. So just for me, it was the best, and I didn't love it really. I liked it, but like I didn't love it like I love baseball, and I wasn't gonna get burnt out from playing like other guys were because I that's just what I did. Like I do that every day. Like, and my dad wouldn't have to tell me to go to the field. I would just go every day. So I think for me it was the right fit, but I think it just depends on the guy. Like, if you got a skinnier kid that needs to put on weight, and he says he's serious about it, then he might. I mean, but if he's all right going to a junior college, then and like developing there, then yeah, play basketball,
Yeah, for
play
sure.
football.
Yeah. So kind of you were talking about not having a hard time putting on weight and stuff in high school. Did you have a pretty strict workout routine or diet in high school that kind of helped you bulk up a little more or tried to help you bulk up?
I started like late junior. Well, I think I started lifting like my sophomore year of high school. I wish I would have started younger, like doing more movement stuff. But I feel like during like, I mean, it's not even that long ago, but I feel like things were like different. Like people didn't lift until they got a little bit older and like do like
Yeah.
movement stuff. Like they were so scared of like picking up a barbell as like a
Yeah.
freshman in high school. But in reality, as long as you like know what you're doing and you're not just going in and trying to max out squat, max out like bench. Like if you have somebody that knows what they're doing around you, I think that it's a good thing to get in the gym at a young age. My junior and senior year though, I got really into lifting and got a lot stronger. And I think that's when I made the biggest jump hitting is I started being able to use the ground a little bit better. And like I
Yeah.
don't even know if I realized I was doing it. I was putting the work in and like I like started to see results from that. I think that's probably what happened. I just put on a little bit of weight and started using my body better.
Yeah. I think one thing for me too that I didn't even realize, and Tyler, probably for you too, because you pitched in college. I don't think when I was in high school, I realized how important just stretching was and being flexible and having flexible hips, flexible legs, like like that's just so beneficial for, I mean, any athlete in general, whether you play baseball, basketball, whatever. But I mean, pitching especially, I think that was just something that I really didn't even understand was something that I needed to be better at. And we kind of just got talking with guys now through work and people that we work with that pitch, professionally and um, Blake Walters, the Muhammad Seymour kid. We talked with him last summer, I think, and he was just talking about his stretching routine and how important it was. And I wish that was something that I kind of picked up on when I was in high school too, because that stuff is just so important. So I kind of want to go on to your senior year now. So you guys were what you've lost like only a couple games your senior year in high school, right? Like 4 games, maybe
Yeah, three.
three. Okay, three. Um, so you guys win a state championship that year. And I think one thing, and I'm sure it's the same for big guys from Chicago or St. Louis or bigger towns are gonna appreciate it. But I think being from a small town, the people in your town appreciate a state championship so much, and it means so much to those older guys that played for Hall High School in 1970 or whatever. Like I think that's just so important to those small town people. So what was that kind of experience like for you, just winning a state championship, for Hall?
I mean, it was unreal because like growing up, that was always the goal. We always wanted to win a state title. And my junior year, we got beat. Who I don't remember who it was, but we shouldn't have got beat by him in sectional championship. We kind of choked, and like that stung pretty bad. But like it created like some anger kind of like going into the off season, like or going into summer ball. Is like we really wanted to like we wanted to win the whole thing. Obviously, I mean it was always the goal. Like we should have been like the year before. We should have been better than we were, like finish wise. So it was like going into that, we were on it. And then everybody, like we all started kind of committing then. And then it was like there was pressure from that too. So like I feel like I mean we're just honestly our senior year we were so much better than everybody else. It did like in the area and stuff like that. Like we could have played like we played bad a little bit at the beginning of the year, and then like we started playing well and we were beating teams by like 15, 16, and we like it wouldn't even matter if we played well because we just didn't make any like you know how it is like smaller town like if you just don't like we didn't make errors. Like having a team like in 2A that has like 9 guys that are really good on defense. I think we made one error in the postseason that year,
That's crazy.
which is
I re-
nuts.
yeah,
Yeah.
I remember just like kind of. I mean, I always tried to follow along just with other teams throughout the area, and I remember following along with you guys that year. And I mean, we all kind of knew it. The guys in my class, were my good buddies and stuff, we kind of knew like these guys are just they're gonna win. They're gonna run the floor with everybody. Because I mean, you guys had like you and Ty and Brant were the three D1 guys, right, from that team, and then
Then
you had a couple
Chance
other.
is at SEMO now.
Oh yeah, yeah, I forgot about him. He's younger though, right?
He's a year younger, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean,
Ty's
you guys
brother's
were.
at Illinois State.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that team was just loaded with all around talent. That was for especially for a two-way program too. Like, yeah, that was a really solid team. Um, do you think so? Like, what were you guys doing? And I mean, you kind of talked about it a little bit with your dad probably having a lot of benefit for those kids. But do you think was there anything different that you like? Were you guys just in the weight room all the time too, or were you guys just setting goals where hey, we're gonna win state this year, we're gonna be successful? Like, what were you guys doing? It was just so different that made you guys have 9 guys on the field at a time that were going to be successful.
I feel like our like even like Tom Keegan, our head coach, and my dad did a good job of like making us believe that we could like to dream to believe like when we were freshmen that we could win a state championship, you know, like we were younger and like to the kids below us like that it was possible and stuff because our baseball program wasn't very good before we got there. Like I don't know when the last time there was like it was like a really long time before like we'd even won a
Yeah,
regional. It was like over 10 years, I want to say. So, and now the program's like completely flipped all the way through. And I want to say I mean it is because of like what like we started that, which is like really cool
yeah,
that we started like all the kids at Hall, I like they're all into baseball now. Like you know how it used
yeah,
to be a football school, like everybody's into
yeah.
baseball.
Well,
It's awesome.
so I was actually so we had a tournament in Rantoul at the Rantoul complex that they have down there, and I was talking to, I think is it Eric Bryant, your guys' AD at Hall?
Yeah, his
Is that
kid's gonna
right?
be a dude.
Yeah. So
His kid's good.
I was watching. I think Max is his oldest son's name. He was pitching,
Yep.
for whatever team that he was on, and but yeah, just like I mean, he's got 2 kids, and he said his younger son's really good too. But just kind of talking to him about Hall, and I mean, he was kind of mentioning me your dad and stuff, and how beneficial he is. But I mean, you guys, I feel like that school is just going to continually produce a lot of talent. Um, and more so for as small of a school as it is. I mean, you guys aren't that small compared to like where I grew up, but like still a smaller school, smaller town. Like you're going to produce a lot of talent. It sounds like, and um, yeah, you guys just do it different over there, I guess.
Well, we had like so there's this younger team. They were like I can't even think of how old. They were probably like 8 or 9, and they were all kind of into baseball. They were like into travel, and they're freshmen now. And they're like there's some guys on that team that like are like a good chance to be like D1 guys, D1, D2, JUCO guys. Like there's some really good players on that team that have a really good chance. Like if they continue to work hard and continue to get better to be college baseball players, which is cool.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
yeah.
So, Cam, we've obviously talked a lot about like your high school and how you were kind of like a late bloomer to get into college. Like, could you maybe just walk us through like your recruiting process? Because almost everybody's journey is different, and I think you've got like a good um, like a case study, like where you were a late bloomer, like you were talking about. You were probably leaning more towards JUCO, and then eventually you blew up. So if you maybe just want to talk us through like when did you first get an offer and like when did Illinois fully like join the picture for you?
So let me. So I didn't even, I had nothing. I think I went on the Sparks this is my freshman or sophomore year of high school. I'm getting old, so it's getting hard to remember. But I think I got on the Sparks my sophomore year of high school. There was a lot of guys on our team that were already committed. Yeah, because that's when you could commit before. That's when eighth graders were committing. And
Yeah,
so,
Right, right, right.
so there's some guys on my team committed before, and me and Brant were both on that team. So we both were late, obviously. I didn't have anything that whole sophomore year. I never really I would email coaches all the time and they just never get anything back, honestly. Which
Right there with you. Right there with
yeah.
you.
So then my junior year I started getting a little bit better. I started getting like a little bit of D2 stuff. There are a few D1 like feelers kind of out. Like I went to Eastern on a visit and they never offered. I actually went to Minnesota on a visit and talked to their coach forever, and they never offered. I had a I'll save that for later, but I had a huge chip on my shoulder because of that. When we played Minnesota, I didn't yeah, I didn't like anybody from Minnesota in college. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. But that really and I know they regret that now.
yeah,
But that was like a big thing and it kept building up and I kept like getting more of a chip on my shoulder. Like why does nobody want me? Like even and I honestly I probably wasn't good enough. Like at the time. Like everybody says uh that like now I think about it like, oh, I'm just not good enough. Like at the time I thought I was good enough. I was so young, like and I
yeah,
was really good in high school too. So it was like I
yeah,
thought I was good
yeah.
enough. But like the chip kept growing. I kept working hard. And then right before right before my senior year, I started to really, really swing it well. Like I was locked in. Um, and Coach Hartwell came to watch. I think he was watching Zach play on another field, and Adam Chris, assistant, told him, "Hey, go watch Cam play," because there's a few guys on my team going to Illinois, and they were talking to him about me, like saying, "Now he's swinging it really well right now." He came to watch me play, and I played really well, made a few good plays in the field. Was actually playing shortstop at the time, which is I never played short in college, but I made a few I made a few really good plays in the field and had like two or three good barrels, and they called me and were talking about coming on a visit. So I went to I set that up with them, and I went to UT Martin first. They had me come on a visit. Um, Went there, they offered me, and it was my first offer, so I was all excited about it, and like. My dad was like, "All right, pump the brakes a little bit. Like we gotta wait this out. Like, see who else is like gonna call and stuff." And then I went to Illinois like the next day or whatever, and I was like, "Dan, I'm committed. I don't care." I committed. I committed, which is crazy to think about now. Is like that I committed that fast. Like, because I wouldn't
yeah,
recommend that to like somebody, but like I had a lot of friends going there too, so it was like
yeah,
it'd be nice to have like that support group. I thought about that like with them being there because like Brandon Comio was like my best friend growing up. Brody was going there. He's one of my best friends growing up too. So it was like just those two alone going there. It was like Justin Janis. Like there's so many guys going there that I played with in high school. It was like so hard not to pull the trigger on that. So I just pulled the trigger and I was like, actually I can vividly like remember a conversation I had with Adam on the phone. He's like, we have a lot of infielders in right now, and I was like, well, there's more competition. Like I'm in for it, and they ended up offering me, and I got on campus, and I was like, dang, like our Ben Trek, he was a shortstop. Michael Massey's a second baseman, and Grant Van Scoy, who won the batting title, was the third baseman. The shortstop was 11th round pick, probably the best defensive shortstop in the country. Massey was the best defensive second baseman in the country, and now big leaguer. Like I was
yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
I better learn how to play the outfield.
yeah,
It's kind of like if I want to play,
yeah.
I better learn how to
That's
play the outfield.
I feel like that's the kind of like mentality you need to have though. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'll do whatever I got to do. I just want to like I'll get in there, I'll grind, I'll do whatever I have to play to help the team, whatever. And that sounds like that's kind of what your mindset was.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's yeah. So basically, with high school, I was really late in the process, and I think it was honestly great for me though, just like for my mind, like just I always had like a chip on my shoulder, and I don't know. I think it helped me work harder.
Yeah, for
So it
sure.
ended
No,
up
for
working
sure.
out, man.
And obviously, you said you played for the Sparks. Would you say there were any benefits that like the Sparks gave you? Um, Obviously, you're from a smaller school. Was playing for the Sparks kind of like a jumping point for you to like get seen by bigger schools?
Yeah, definitely. That was that was huge playing with them and just being around guys that were really good. Because it like kind of humbled me. Like my first summer, I didn't hit that well on that team. I was like a 7-8 hitter. I'd never been a seven or an eighth hitter in my life. So it was definitely like humbling. And I was like, I don't want to be. And like some games I wouldn't even play. Like I was like, this sucks. I don't want to do this.
Right.
Which it was great for me though. Like
Hmm.
it was like really good to get humbled like that. Because like when you're younger, everybody thinks they're really good. Like I know that jump from like eighth grade to like freshman year of high school, everybody's like really cocky going into it, and then they get humbled. Like you get humbled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like getting humbled is like a great thing in
yeah.
like that sense. Like going to play for a team that's really good. Like I recommend like if your kid's really good, he's the best player. Like I would never want my kid to be the best player on his team when he's younger. Like keep moving him up, keep moving him up. Like if he's really good. Like obviously if he's super like insane, like then you might not be able to get away with that. But
Yeah.
I just keep moving him up. Like just yeah, make him play with guys that are better than him. Like where he's in the middle of the pack and he's got to keep going until he gets better than everybody. That's you don't want to be the best player on every team you play on when you're younger. I feel like that's not good for kids.
Yeah,
No,
for sure.
that's really good advice. I mean, without a doubt, because you see it so many times. Like me and Gavin see it all the time at our job. You know, like it's better probably to be the big fish in the big pond than the big fish in the small pond, right? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of what I feel like you're getting at. And building off that, like what other advice, like you were talking about, like you wouldn't advise kids to like commit like right away after they go on a visit, but like what other advice would you give like some of these high schoolers coming up that are deciding between colleges? Like what are some of the main things these kids should look for?
Uh, talk to the players on the team on your visit. Really talk to them and ask them questions about the coaches. And like look in the room to see if like anybody's like making any like weird faces about like their coaches and stuff, and like just I kind of like ask them because you're gonna get the whole spiel when you go on a visit. Like you're gonna get the best of the best from the coaches, right? Like they're gonna like bring out all like if they really like you, they're gonna bring out all the stops. And then things change a little bit when you get on campus, right? Like it's not gonna be all sunshine and rainbows like when you get on campus. So I think that's the biggest thing I would look for is just like look also like if like try like judge their character like talk to them about what they believe in hitting pitching whatever it is philosophies and see if they line up with what you think. Like I think that's so big like when you're going to commit to a school.
You kind of talked a little bit about it earlier. Just once you got to Illinois, it was kind of like, okay, I need to learn how to like be versatile. What were your goals going into your freshman year at Illinois? Because like Gavin's gonna touch on this later, but like you obviously had a really great career at Illinois, and I mean, it's not often that guys go into a Power Five Big Ten school and play right away as a freshman, right? And I'm sure that was probably one of your goals, but like, what was kind of your mindset going into your freshman year at Illinois?
Just well, I sat on a bench for a few games of the Sparks. I never wanted to do that again. So I was like, I just got to figure out a way to get on the field, like whatever I got to do. And I think I kept it simple. Like that was really like I didn't have like huge expectations for myself that year. It was literally just get on the field. And I kept it so simple. I think that's like it worked for me. Like I wasn't overthinking. I wasn't trying to hit 350 with 10 home runs. I was literally doing whatever it takes to get on the field and stay on the field every day. Like once I started playing, like I didn't know my swing very well when I was a freshman. Like I was just going up there and just battling and just trying to move runners, like doing what the coaches wanted us to do. Basically, is what I was trying to do just to stay on the field because I didn't want to not play. I think that's
Yeah.
honestly that was my mindset as a freshman. I just want to get on the field, and then like as I slowly started to play more, it became just about winning. But like
Hmm.
at first, like I just want to be on the field. I want to help the obviously I just want to help the team. Like whatever I can do to help the team is like what I wanted to do, and I kept it so simple. And I think that's and then as I got older, like my sophomore year, I started thinking differently, and like the draft started coming up. Like I started thinking about the draft, like thoughts of that started coming, and then like my mind wasn't clear when I went to the field every day, and that's not good.
So expanding on that, like, what was your preparation like going into games? Did you like, have like a special routine like pregame, or did it consist of like visualization, anything like that?
Not when I was younger. I'd say the year that I had the most success is like when I started like really getting into that stuff and buying in. After my junior, okay, we'll go. So my sophomore year, I was terrible. I was probably the worst hitter in the country. Um, Actually, I don't know if you can look it up, but I hit like one. I don't want to say like because I know exactly what I hit. I hit 149. Um, but we played 12 games only because of COVID, and then the season ended, and I just got like honestly, I was like, it's messed up to say, but I was so in my head that I was happy the season ended. Which,
Yeah.
like, I was like, ah, I just don't even want to go to the field anymore because I was so like, I don't want to say depressed, but I was so down on myself every day. I was so like, poor me, poor this, like stuff like that. I had to go home and like reevaluate everything and myself, and I ended up doing a little bit better the next year, but it was the same old stuff. Like I would get down on myself really bad. I'd be thinking too much. I hit like 250. It's like junior year, draft year. I really wanted to get drafted, and once like halfway through the year, I knew that wasn't going to happen. I was all upset about that. So I got home from that. Well, okay, so we go in for our meetings at the end of the year, and I was like, I'm just gonna go play in summer ball and just like work really hard and just try to figure it out, and that didn't work really. So I went home and I was like, I sat down and I was like, you know what? I'm done like playing like this. I'm done like worrying like this. I'd rather just not even play. I'd rather just quit
Yeah.
baseball. Like than do that. Like than words that I can't say on a podcast, be like a baby, be a baby. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
then do that. Like it's not even fun. Like I might as well just go get a job. So I changed like everything. I just started trying to have fun again. As much like as dumb as that sounds, like I just started trying to have fun again, and then like I slowly started creating like a plan for myself. And then by the time I got to the game, it was just like whatever happens, happens. Like I just go in there and like I was like always like a guy that had to be like I had really bad like anxiety like before games and stuff. So like
Yeah.
I always had to be doing something in the mornings, or else like I couldn't just like lay around all day. So like Friday nights like that year, like I would get up early, do a little meditation, yoga practice in the morning, and then I go to the weight room or go on a walk. Like just to get moving around, I wouldn't even like really do much. Like I would just go like move around, go see what like was in the area kind of thing. And like just find like little things to do like before the game just to keep my mind off of it a little bit. And then like an hour before we left, like when I started like putting my uniform on, is like when things like I like started like locking in. Like I don't really like want to talk to anybody like before games and stuff. Like I was like always like kind of like locked in, like in my own little world kind of thing. Because I get so nervous before games, and that's like another thing for kids is like that's normal to get nervous. Like obviously like to some extent, like if you like put like a lot into it and you care about it a lot, you're gonna get nervous. So I think that's like a big thing for kids to understand is that it's okay to get nervous. I honestly I'd play bad when I wasn't nervous. Like if I didn't have any nerves, I wouldn't play good. Because if if you don't have those nerves, like I think this guy that I was like, because I was talking about a hitting guy about it, like on the road, and he's like, actually, it's proven like your like senses are better like when you do have a little like nerves. Like there were some midweeks when I was like a fifth year, like I wouldn't be nervous at all, and I wouldn't play very well in those games. And looking back on it, it's because I wasn't at my peak level of like performance. Like so, I'm all over the place right now, but
No, you're
expanding
good.
Yeah. You're
on
good.
like that. I worked with our sports psych guy at school the last 2 years, and he really helped. And he talked about like being at a 7 for like me. We talked about it's like what do you need to be at a 1 through 10 like emotionally to play well? And like I was like I have no idea. This is my junior year, the year that I wasn't very good. I was like, dude, I have no idea. And we started talking about it. I was like, dude, like if you don't know that, like how do you know like when you're in the box, like if you're in the right spot, like to calm yourself down or not? Like if you're not like keeping track of where you're at, like emotionally. So I was like, at first I think I said like a freaking 9, and I was like, no, that ended up not being right. Like I need to be at a 7 or a 6 even. Like I needed to be like relaxed, like was still a little bit like I needed to calm myself down because normally I'd be at like a 9 going into a Friday night. So I needed to get myself down. And like as I started like working on it and like the meditating and stuff, I got really good at like getting to a 9 or a 10 and being able to get it down. It
Mhm.
was hard for me to go from like a 4 and get it up to a 7. Like I really struggled with that. Like I think a lot of guys are probably like that too. Like you go like to like I mean that's probably part of the reason why like all these bigger schools get beat on midweeks because it's harder to go from a 4 to a 7 than it would be. So I think that was like a big thing that helped me. Like no, like I don't need to go up there and be like grit my teeth with 2 strikes and like try to protect the play. I need to go up there and just be like, who cares? Like whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
Like Cali chill. Like I need to be relaxed
yeah,
in the
yeah.
box. Yeah, I need to
I
like I need to slow things down, not speed them
yeah,
up.
yeah. I think it's cool that you mentioned meditation. So I've been like reading a bunch of books lately, and a lot of them are kind of centered around like understanding your mind and like meditation, things like that. And I wish like when I was still playing, I knew really what meditation was, or I utilized it, because it allows you just to like kind of calm yourself down in situations like that. And I think probably any athlete, no matter what sport you're playing, if you know how to use that and you meditate, not even daily, but just a few times a week, that's got to be so beneficial for you to find success in your game. Um, and I feel like it's not something that probably gets, at least from what I my perspective, like it doesn't get talked about a bunch. Maybe like when you're at Illinois, that's kind of something that people recommend for you. But um, no, I think that's something really cool that you mentioned and brought up, because I'm all in on that stuff now. So I think that's something that's super useful for those kids too to maybe learn and pick up at a younger age. So yeah,
Yeah, well,
I'm all for it.
they say the game's 90% mental, so why do we spend
Yeah,
90% on our physical game and about 10% on the mental? Like why is that
yeah,
more of like what they talk about?
yeah,
It's because
absolutely.
I mean I think it's definitely the hardest thing to teach. That's probably why.
Yeah,
Because that's like I mean there's so many guys I've played with or seen that like just could never figure it out that had all the tools in the world. It's like that's kind of like what I would say like one of my goals as a coach is like to help those guys. The guys that have
hmm
all the tools in the world but just can't figure it out. Like those are the guys that I feel like are the ones that like I want to be able to help because like I look at it like now that I'm coaching, I don't know if this is the right way to look at it. It's probably not, and I'm probably going to change it like because it's going to be bad on my mental health. But like if my hitters fail, I feel like it's on me. Like I'm never going to say like that like them not having success is like on them. But like as a hitter, I would always put it on myself. Like it's just like I
yeah,
think it's just how I'm wired is like if a guy's not having success, like I feel like that like maybe I'm not doing something right. I'm always looking at like you know what I mean? Like I'm looking at what I'm
yeah,
doing and like trying to
yeah,
see if like there's something that I'm not like understanding about their swing or like what they're thinking in their mind that's causing them problems. Like, ooh, did I talk to them a little bit too much and do I have them now thinking too
yeah,
much? Like it's
yeah,
just so it's like when do I talk, when do I not talk?
yeah,
It's just it's
yeah,
interesting to be on this side of
yeah,
things.
yeah, for sure. So one thing I want to bring out just quickly, just to kind of show you some love for your career at Illinois before we transition to what you're up to now. So I was looking up your stats on Baseball Reference last night. So your career stats were you hit 289, 19 home runs, 162 RBIs. And if I'm wrong here, tell me. But I've got you were eighth in hits in Illinois history and ninth in RBIs. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's so I mean just so I kind of grew up being one of those guys. I've always followed Illinois sports and Illinois baseball, basketball, whatever. But you know, there's a lot of really good baseball players to come through Illinois. So what does that kind of mean to you to be on a list like that? You know, in the top 10 and things like that.
It's really cool to look back at. Like I guess when I was there, I never like really like thought about like that kind of stuff. It was just like playing, kind of doing my thing. But like one like the day that like because I didn't know that I was like just like enter the top 10 or whatever like when it happened, but like they posted about it and I like saw it after the game. I was like, dang, that's pretty cool. Like or like I got to like 200 hits and they posted that and I was like, that's a lot. Like I was like, dang,
Yeah.
I'm old. I've been here for a while. But yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's definitely cool to
Yeah.
look back on. Like knowing that I like obviously I wanted to play like obviously the goal is to end up playing in the big leagues, but like I think like from where I came from and like just like athletically where I was at, like I made it pretty close. I don't know. I want to say I made it to like the peak of where I could have went, but I think I got pretty close because I wasn't that athletic. I wasn't like I didn't have any crazy tools. So I think I mean I'm satisfied with my baseball career and the point I got to.
Yeah. And I think like one thing too, like you might not have gotten to maybe your goal when you were in college at one point of playing professionally, but like, now you're doing the player development stuff at Illinois. I think I'm sure that that's kind of like your going to be your calling, being a coach, kind of mentoring those kids to help them get to that next level and do what they want to do with their careers and do your best that you can to help them. Cause that's kind of where I'm at, like when I was 12 years old, 15 years old, I was like, man, I want to play for the Cubs. Like, that's what I'm going to do. Obviously, like I just wasn't good enough, but now it's just like, how can I kind of be still around the game and give back and do maybe my part and help in any way I can to help those kids from, Henry, Illinois or Ladd or whatever, trying to get to that next level. So I think now for you, you're kind of doing player development. So it's kind of cool to see that you're still staying a part of the game. You're doing your best to help those kids get to the next level.
Yeah, definitely. It's really cool to be on that side of things and be able to talk to guys about the stuff that they're going through and be able to see it like actually because like when I was playing like I was really worried about like my routines and stuff like that like sometimes I would get lost like other guys and stuff that they have going on but like just observing guys and just seeing like when guys are down when guys are doing really well just how they act and stuff like that
Yeah.
it's really cool to like be like done playing but like still be able to be around like that aspect of things. I think that's the coolest like part of baseball is just like the highs and lows of things and like how guys handle it. Just
Yep.
super interesting to me.
So what is your role as, the player development guy at Illinois? What's kind of your day to day look like?
So in the falls, I help with like practice. I help with the infielders, hit fungos, uh, talk about that stuff. I don't say much of the infield yet. I don't know. Like our infield guy's so good, like that. Like I'll listen to him and basically just repeat what he says sometimes. But I'll like if one of our coaches has gone recruiting, I'll run outfield, which I feel like I'm really comfortable in like the outfield with that stuff and teaching guys about like getting reads and stuff because I wasn't the fastest guy, so I think I can really help guys with that sort of thing, like getting good jumps, stun balls, like all the little things. Just talking about that and like just getting done. Like that's another like role that I'm kind of in. Like I'm trying to think of the word. I guess translator from the coaches like to the players because I played with a lot of the guys. So like if the players aren't happy about something that the coaches say or the coaches aren't happy about something about the players, it's like I can like I'm the mediator. Like you know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah,
I'm like this
yeah,
is why like we're doing this. Like there's a purpose behind it
yeah,
and stuff like that. I could talk with them because like I mean there's so many times that you're like not happy like with something that you're doing, but then if you like now if I step back and like look back at like some of the things we did, I'm like, oh, like that makes sense. Like I'm having
yeah,
like those moments not right now all the time, like where I'm going back on like, why did we do this? Why did we do that? And then like well, like talking in the office, I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
yeah,
You know, like and then
yeah,
I so like I that's like I'd say my biggest role. And then with the hitters I do I do like they give me a lot of like leeway with the hitters. Like I never feel like because I'm third or fourth in line like when it comes to hitting, but like I never feel
mhm,
like um they are like they're looking at me like I'm not supposed to be talking or something. Like I feel like I always like have a say in everything. Like they ask me about like the hitting drills we're doing, like if I like what we're doing. So it's been awesome being able to work with um my coaches. I had a decent amount of say last year and like the last 2 years when I was playing. So it definitely helps being with them that they like respect my opinion. And if I'm talking to a guy about hitting, like they're not gonna be like, oh, like just let me like do my thing. But like I always like make sure that like I don't ever want to step on Adam's toes because he really knows what he's talking about and
Yeah.
he's really good at his job. But so like I always ask like what are you like working on with Adam? Like because like if he's in a different cage than me, like what is he saying to you? So I don't kind of like say something like different that's gonna have this dude like domed up, you know. So it's
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting being able to like navigate that. It's fun though. I love
Yeah.
working with like those guys.
It's your it's like a goal for you kind of now to be a coach eventually and continue that, or what are kind of your goals here with baseball now?
I'm not sure exactly. I definitely want to coach. I'm not sure exactly what level if I want to be. I don't think I ever want to be a head coach. I think I just want to be a hitting guy and outfielding guy. Maybe infield if I have to, but like I probably either try to get into professional baseball or be a D1 hitting coach.
Yeah, for sure. Um, so you can correct me here if I'm wrong. But I love this dude's Twitter. So Trey Hannum, right? Is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
So you worked with him, right? Kind of with
Yeah,
hitting.
in high school a little
How
bit, yeah.
how beneficial or influential had he been on you when, like when he was you're helping you out with stuff?
Dude, he helped a lot. He was so good at just breaking down the swing and like when like the reps in there were like so like down to a T, like the stuff that we would do, like he was like very I'm trying to think of the word. I can't even think of the word, but like he was all over it. Like every time like it was about like being like perfect in the cage basically and like discipline and stuff like that. And I think it helped me a ton. Like obviously I started going to him after my junior year. I hit with him a decent amount and
Okay.
he definitely helped a lot. I mean, I hit 100 points higher the next year. So
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
he he's really good at what he does, and I
Yeah.
loved working with him.
Yeah. I always love seeing his Twitter and stuff. And there's a kid in Sterling Newman or Newman Central
Yeah,
Catholic or something,
that
Tunnick.
dude rakes.
And yeah, I always see him working with him on his Twitter and stuff. And yeah, that kid's so good. But so I kind of want to transition just a little bit to the mental side. I know you kind of touched on it briefly, but like I guess this is kind of a probably too vague of a question, but like, is there like what advice would you give to like a high school kid that is trying to kind of understand the mental side of the game? Like if they're just like they don't really know much about it, they're just only going into it, the physical. Just I'm a good baseball player, but they don't understand the mental side. Like, is there any just overarching advice that you have to maybe, or even tips, books, anything to read to like understand or learn the mental side of the game?
Stop caring what people think would be number one for me. Other people's opinions don't matter. That would be like number one, learning how to do that, which is hard to do. And then don't be afraid of failure. It's gonna happen, especially in baseball. Like you get 3 hits out of 10, you're a Hall of Famer. So um, I think that's one of the biggest things. And then I think routine, like creating a routine. Like if I was struggling or like I had a guy struggling, I would make them write down everything they were gonna do for the day and then check it off. Like if it was in season, because people will soak and like just think about the game like all day, every day instead of like going to work and like getting better. Like so just have a routine and stick to it. Get your routine before the season starts and don't and obviously there's like little adjustments you need to make during the year, but like stick with your routine. I think like honestly, I this is I really like enjoyed reading David Goggins' books
Oh yeah, for sure.
and like just like learning more about like what Marines do like for like mental toughness and stuff like with
Yep.
like their routines and how like I think it's very similar to like professional athletes. Obviously theirs is on another level,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like it's very similar in the aspect of like you're gonna get up in the morning and you're gonna do stuff that you don't want to do like to start like there's things that you have to do that you don't want to do to get to the fun stuff, like when you're playing. So don't like the guys I feel like that's every guy that's struggling is that they just kind of go into a shell and they don't want to be around their teammates. Like that's another big thing too when you get in a slump. Just like hang around your teammates. Like don't go by yourself and like just be in a shell. Talk to your hitting guy. That's another big thing. Like having a good relationship with your hitting coach is huge. Like if you just go into a shell and don't give them anything like to help you get out of it, then it's going to be really hard to get out. Like basically stop feeling sorry for yourself is the biggest thing. Like everybody's going to fail. Like if they're a good coach, they're not going to look at you any differently because you're failing.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're going to look at you differently though if you don't take action and um, just don't. If you're not the same guy every day, like if you can't put the same like face on every day, like they said with Derek Jeter, like they said he was the same guy every day. Like
Yeah.
oh, I wonder why he played 20 years. I mean, I bet that had something to do with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I mean, it's so easy to sit here and say that now that I'm done playing, but it's not easy to do. It's really not.
Yeah.
It's like the younger you can realize that, the better.
Yep. I agree. I think if these kids can develop that kind of attitude in high school, it's only going to go a longer way for them. And even if younger than high school, but I mean, it's to ask a fifth grader or sixth grader to try and learn some of this stuff might be kind of hard. But I think like a big thing is probably just reading, to be honest, like reading books like that talk about mental performance. And like I in high school, I read, it was called The Mental Game of Baseball. Just like reading things like that help you kind of understand that side of the game. I feel like probably just gives you the upper edge at an early age.
Is that the book right above you?
No, that's
Or is that the ABC's
of
Vision?
Yeah. I've got the somewhere in my room over here. I don't know where it's at. I got the Goggins book that you were probably just talking about. I don't remember. I can't think what it's called, but that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that book. I like honestly, I thought like some of his stuff was like just like watching from afar. It's like I guess you don't judge somebody from afar, but like, I thought some of it was eyewash. But then you like go in and read like his story and stuff. It's just like it's really cool. It really helps you get up in the morning and get to work.
Yeah. It makes you feel like you need to be doing a lot more with your day. So yeah. Kind of the last thing that I wanted to bring up here. It's not really baseball related at all. But just being from same area in the Illinois Valley and stuff, there's a lot of good food in like the Peru, Spring Valley area. What are some of your like favorite restaurants in that area?
It's a good question. I like Baruki's a lot, and then I've been on a big Legrato's kick.
Okay.
If I go home, I want pizza because there's not very good pizza in Champaign. So if I go home and I want pizza, that's a Legrato's. Or like my dad loves Pizza Cellar.
Okay, that's in Princeton, right?
Yeah, it's in Princeton.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So before we got on this, probably me and Tyler were talking earlier today, and I told him I was gonna ask you this. I was like, I bet you he's gonna say Rips, Baruki's, and Luz Grotto. Those. So I got two right, I guess.
See, like Rips for me, I don't know if I like ate too good when I was at school, like ate like healthy, because like I'll come home and I'll try to have it and I'll be on the mend for like 2 days, 2 or 3 days. So I can't even do it.
Yeah.
Like I do it, it's like it's not good.
Yeah, Luz is like if you're gonna get deep dish pizza, I think Luz is like my number one. I would rather have that than Chicago, any Chicago pizzas. So
I'm with you on that. I'm 100% with you on that.
Their garlic knots. It's the best.
You got to go there though. You got to get it there.
No, absolutely. When during COVID, when they were doing like the delivery stuff, it just didn't hit the same.
No, it
wasn't
doesn't.
the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's all I got with you. I appreciate you doing this. I've been really looking forward to talking and chatting about stuff. You definitely gave a ton of good advice to these high school kids to kind of take and try and learn and develop themselves. So I appreciate you being on and doing this.
For sure. I appreciate you guys having me. Love talking baseball.
Yeah, it's a good time. Appreciate it, man.